This is episode 63 of Art Talk, and today I have the director of the VAA, Visual Artists Association, Laura O'Hare, as a guest. Laura O'Hare is responsible for leading the artistic and business development at VAA. She has been working in the fine arts sector since 2012 and is a founder of the Visual Artists Association. Presently, director of the Visual Art Open Awards and Chester Arts Fair, she has a wealth of experience in managing relationships with artists and understanding their needs. She also has an extensive network, including arts organizations, galleries, publishers, and commercial partners. She has helped hundreds of artists figure out how to thrive at all stages of their fine art careers. Prior to working in the arts industry, she was a solicitor specializing in employment law for over 15 years. Welcome, Laura. I'm so happy to have you as my guest today.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm delighted to be here as your guest. No, it's wonderful to be able to come and chat about art and VAA and everything related.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your background is that of law, but what brought you to the arts?
Okay, yeah. So I was in law for about 15 years, which was great. I worked across discrimination law. That was the area that I worked in. So race commission, sort of race discrimination and sex discrimination. Loved what I did. But then latterly, it was in one of my last, well, it was my last job because that's how I found art. I had quite a few clients that were interested in art, and I knew a handful of artists, some of them friends, some of them connections I'd made along the way. And I thought, do you know what, wouldn't it be a great idea if I could put on an event, showcase some of these amazing artists' work, and bring some of my clients through the event, and we could possibly raise some money for charity along the way. So yes, I put on that event, did that weekend, and it went surprisingly well. I think we sold, it was around £100,000 worth of art for the artists.
That's not bad.
Yeah, no, it was pretty amazing. And if I remember rightly, I think it was about 80% went to the artists of that money, and then 20% went to the local charity, Clare House, that I work with. And so it was after that I was basically hooked into the art world, so to speak. And I was then introduced to Shirley Ann, who obviously is my co-director, co-founder with the Visual Artists Association. And that's how we started. And yeah, 10 years later, over 10 years later, and this is where we are now.
Yeah, and it's growing.
Yes.
It's really growing, right? Yeah.
It is. And yeah, I mean, growing in terms of obviously the artist members, but growing in terms of what we're doing and what we're able to deliver for the artists as well, which is what our aim is.
Yeah, that's amazing, because when I found it in January after I read the book, and to me it was like, wow, these are actually people who know things behind where we as artists want to come. So you bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So you worked also in the fine art sector since 2012. You already explained how you came there. What did you learn from artists, and how were you able to bridge that gap between them and the collectors or galleries?
Oh, well, I suppose rather than just saying what I learned from artists, first of all, I learned that there were so many talented artists out there. But and from those talented artists on a daily basis, when we were working in large scale art events, exhibitions, we were asked question after question about how to sell their artwork, how to become more visible. And I knew that artists were short on opportunities and resources to help them get their work shown or to become visible to buyers. and also to learn perhaps some easy business skills which would help artists achieve the goals. Um, we were able to do some of this to some extent through our fairs and exhibitions, but we knew we had to do something on a larger scale that would have a bigger impact, would be like a movement for artists, would really disrupt the change. And so it was after lots of brainstorming, we thought, how can we help artists, that we then, thought of the Visual Artists Association in 2019, just before the pandemic. So yeah, we learned that there were lots of questions that needed answering, lots of opportunities that needed to be found, and we needed to help artists as well network with both professional, people in the arts world, but also other artists, because it was quite a cottage industry.
Yeah,
are often working alone, and we felt that was really important to get that. And we talked about this actually just before the podcast, that connection.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is the thing, the networking. And next week I will be there again in the live networking, which doesn't come natural to me. And I think a lot of artists, and you can learn that, and some will be really good at it and some are less good at it. And I've learned that everyone has his own genius at one point. So it's also based on how your neurology works. Some are really like the lions. They are the ones who go out and they network and they talk and they chat. And you have the ones who are the creator, innovator, and they create. So put me in my studio and I will create. That's my dream, to create.
Yes.
and have someone else do the other stuff. Because I'm just not very good at it. But the main thing, what I saw in what I experienced with the VAA is that there's so many parts that you can still do, even if it's not your genius, the part where you're easy, you can still do some of it, like going to a network. And from the last one, I had already people I invited for the podcast, which is important. You have to talk about your work.
I think, a lot of artists are naturally introverted, and perhaps that sort of typical idea of networking isn't always for everyone. But like you say, there are lots of different ways in which you can network or connect with others. And it might not be necessarily going out there to a physical networking event. It might be, for example, I know we have Facebook groups where artists connect with other artists, and you can start off chatting online in a very sort of easy, measured way. Or you can use social media to connect. So it doesn't always have to be in a traditional way. There are lots of ways that you can network, and quite often you're networking and you don't even realize you're networking.
But that's an interesting one. Yeah. And maybe I do, by inviting people.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. By having your podcast and meeting people, and that's an amazing way of networking.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it that way. It was more like for my interest in people, and then also hoping other would get value out of it. But yeah, I didn't think it. So yeah, can we talk about charities? You already said that you started out with an event and gained a huge amount of money for that charity. How can artists work with them without feeling used? Because it's often that artists who either need to perform, and I am a classically trained musician, so I had to do that, and I did this, or donate their work. So what I experienced, and I talk from my own experience, I don't know about others, but is that when you go to charity, they immediately think you donated your work.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you work together with a charity without, because donating doesn't pay my bills.
Yeah, of course. And let's not be afraid to say it. How can you go to a charity and actually sell your artwork and make some money? Everyone has to, as you say, pay their bills. So my first thing would be to do your research. So have a look at what charities are out there and which one is right for you. So when I say that, I'm really talking about a charity that aligns with your values, with issues that are important to you. So there are so many out there. You've got environmental children's charities, which is, you know, children was always something that I was passionate about. So I always picked out children's charities. Whatever I did, there was always a children's charity at the end of it. So if you're feeling passionate about something, if you have, you know, or you have a cause that you're passionate about, you're more likely to work well and to make the partnership work well for you. So that would be my first point. There are different ways that you can work with charities then when you've found the right charity that's for you. So the first one might be to put on an exhibition, a solo exhibition. I'm thinking of a few that are coming off the top of my head here. So you could just put on a one-man exhibition for yourself and, you know, speak to the charity, get them to find the venue, or it might be at their head office, so you're not paying venue costs. Get them to provide, you know, drinks, whatever, canapes, if that's needed for like an opening evening. They're quite willing to sort of do that. They will also have quite an extensive guest list that they can bring. So there might be patrons of that charity that they can invite. There will be donors that potentially would be interested in art. So, you know, you can put something on like that where you're bringing your artwork. And then obviously, if you sell artwork at that, reach an agreement with the charity where you perhaps might look at it as you would with working with a gallery. Looking at giving yourself 60% of any proceeds and 40% to the charity. The charity is going to be delighted with that, you know, to have a cut of a sale, of a few or numerous sales. It gives them obviously the ability to sort of bring in their guests to buy your. So I think that way works quite well. If you're thinking about sort of auctions as well, you know, often artists say, oh, I've been asked to give a piece of work to donate to an auction. You know, perhaps think of it differently. Could you donate a studio visit, for example, as opposed to a piece of artwork? Come to my studio, see me work, have a chat to me, see my work, have a glass of wine with me, you know, make it something that's really special. Most people are absolutely fascinated with the behind the scenes process of an artist. That way they're coming into your studio, they're seeing your work. Who knows what will happen after that? And then then the other thing is if you donate a piece to just a general auction, say, well, look, I can donate 50-50 of what it sells for. And again, go back to that sort of deal. Again, it's about asking, and most charities will be delighted to get some proceeds, and will realise that also you have to make an income as well.
That makes so much sense. I haven't thought about that way, and I'm sure that a lot of people think, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to look for that.
Yeah. Again, using your artists, your creatives, think outside the box, think of different ways that you can work with charities, and always think, with anything I do, it's about win-win. You know, how is there a win for the artist? How is there a win for the charity? It's got to work both ways.
Yeah, definitely needs to be that way. Yeah. I think it's also kind of a fear because everyone is so kind of brainwashed or used into artists donate. You donate your music, you donate your artwork, you donate this, you donate. And they're reluctant to ask because they're not used to, at the artist end, they're not used to do that. And at the other end, the charities are so almost trained in that they get donations that makes it kind of difficult to bridge that.
I mean, again, it's about perhaps knowing how to contact the charity. I mean, we have an example of a letter that you can use to actually write to a charity with these ideas at the VAA. So we have examples of how you can do that. Another thing is just softly getting in with the charity as a starting point. I'm just thinking of something that always sticks in my mind with the charity is, you know, offering, for example, to maybe do some designing within the newsletter of the charity, as in design some of the pages. That way, you're also getting an advert into their newsletter, and that's the first step. It's about going through various steps and getting to know the charity, so they get to know you. You get to know the charity, and you've built up that relationship that has trust and confidence.
Yeah.
You know, so I often find that that works.
Yeah. It is always about building the relationship, right? It's the same with marketing, a word that is weighing heavy on many shoulders, but it is nothing more than creating and building relationships.
Yeah. And you can do that softly, do that gently. You don't have to go all out in the first instance. Just maybe start off by going to some of the charity events that they've got on, getting to know who are the main people involved in charities. They get to know your face, they get to know who you are. It's very much a similar way as if you were approaching a gallery, for example. You perhaps wouldn't always be best off submitting your work straight off. Maybe court them a little bit in a very authentic way, if that makes sense. You know, go to some of their events, go on social media, get them recognizing perhaps who you are, and then intrigued, and then they're more likely to say, okay, I've seen this person at a few things. They seem cool. I've seen their artwork. I'd love to work with them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. So, Black Mango, I've seen that. The link is not working yet because it's under construction, but it is exhibitions, education, consultancy of art. Could you tell us a bit about that?
I can. I mean, the reason why you don't see it working is because we no longer, unfortunately, have the time to work with that side of the business. It is something that we did previously. It was brilliant. I mean, we did, for example, we worked with a lot of schools. We did an art in education program, which started off in a small way with some of the art fairs that we did, where we brought in schools. We ran a prize for them. It was great because obviously it brought buyers into the fair as well. You know, it worked particularly well for that. But we realised that at that point we wanted to do a cradle to the grave approach. It was so important to get involved with educating children at an early stage to be creative and the importance of being creative. So that actually turned into a large regional exhibition and prize, which was great. So we did that with schools. The other thing that we did, we worked with a lot of high net worth and corporates. So we had our exclusive arts club, where we held events at the Grosvenor Hotel, for example, in Chester, and lots of corporate venues. We brought artists in who would perhaps, I know on one occasion we had demonstrations from an amazing artist, which resulted in a lot of sales to corporates. And then with the art club, we brought in various artists and invited our high net worth buyers into those events as well. So yeah, we learned a lot as well doing those.
Wow, it's a shame that you can't do that anymore.
Do you know, we've done so much, and we love doing that, but now our focus has got to be, and as much as we love doing that, we don't have the time to the other side because our concentration has got to be on helping artists on a large scale and as many artists as possible through the VAA. So yeah, we've done that. Who knows in the future there may be
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
AA sort of, there's always an idea in my mind that I would love to have a sort of annual VAA conference
Mm-hmm.
where artists attend, they're educated, but also they get to showcase their art and sell their art at that conference, and it'd be over a number of days. So who knows? Watch this space, it may happen.
I hope so. Looks really good. Yeah. Well, let's go to the book. Good Art Doesn't Sell Itself. That's how I came to the VAA. I saw this title, very captivating, compelling. So I had like, that's what I need. So I started reading and I had like, wait a minute, who the hell wrote this? And I went through it and I saw the VAA and I became a member, which I would recommend every artist, no matter where you are in the world, by the way. But it is an amazing book. It's filled to the brim with advice, how you can handle things. And there's so much in it that there are parts that I know because I've done some marketing courses, but this goes way beyond. And one of the most important questions to me was, find your gap. And I had been mostly online. I had like, hey, my gap is out there.
Mm-hmm.
I need to meet people. I need to take my sketchbook and sketch people so that people can see me, can have a conversation with me, go to the museum, etc. And that's also part of the lockdown. You sit in the house and you start online and you forget that you also can go outside. But that was for me the gap. So I know a next book is coming.
Yes.
Can you spill a few beans with us about what that is about and when it comes out?
Of course. We haven't got the exact date yet. We are just completing it. I would suspect autumn time. The book is called An Artist's Guide to Representation, Agents, Galleries and Publishers. So having done Good Art Doesn't Sell Itself, one of the biggest areas that we come up against again and again and again is about artist representation. So we decided that we wanted to share examples of how other artists have successfully found representation, because I think it's important to learn from other artists. So we've got quite a lot of case studies in there. I think nothing speaks louder than, this particular artist did X, Y, and Z and is doing this. And, it puts it into context, doesn't it? Rather than someone saying, these are the steps. So we will also include a glossary of terms in that, contractual advice. And we want to demystify how to find representation, but also to teach artists how to self-represent. Yeah. So it's not just about finding representation, but how can you take it into your own hands and be the master of your own destiny?
Yeah, that is so important. That is so important. I have found, I invited artists and they tell me, thank you for the invite, but I'm not ready to talk about my work yet, or I'm so shy. And I say, but I help you through it.
Yes.
So yeah, it is how to represent yourself is so important. It's so important.
Completely. And actually you kind of jumped into the answer to my to your final question, actually, which,
yeah,
you know what, just say yes to those opportunities that are right for you. I say right for you because, I think sometimes if you say yes every which way and what opportunity, you can perhaps end up taking on too much and not necessarily being focused in the right place. But do say yes to opportunities. And we're never ready. We're never fully prepared for anything, but just give it a go. And once you've given it a go, the fear kind of dissipates. you know, and you've done it once, and then you realize you can do it again, and then you realize
Yeah.
you can get better, you get polished, and that is how things progress.
Yeah. You're so right. I mean, I know what performing is. Talking in English. I'm not native. I'm Dutch. And so doing a podcast, English, interviewing people, the first time I think it was like drip, drip, drip. um, but you have to do it because perfectionism doesn't exist.
It
And
does. I mean, you do it.
and you have to go through it, because if you can't stay, yeah, you can stay in your studio and then pile everything up, but you have to be out there and talk about what you do and how you do it. Or well, maybe not even how, but why you do it.
You'd be surprised how interested people are in hearing from artists and the process and how you work. You know, you as an artist might not think, oh God, you know, I do this day in, day out. You might not think it's so special. But to the, you know, the average layperson sitting out there, or the buyer, it's absolutely fascinating. I could sit there for hours,
Mm-hmm.
you know, listening to artists speak about how they work, what their process is, what their medium is, where their ideas come from. And do you know, and that's really important actually, we just sort of touched on that, is you know, your story, who you are as an artist, that then comes out, and then that links you with people. So
Yeah.
people will automatically get connected to you. They'll go,
Yeah.
you know, that particular artwork came from there, or it might be, I don't know, a place I've visited or I have a special connection with. And that's then how you meet those potential buyers.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's how I received my latest commission of a portrait. Someone who never ever went to a gallery, someone who never even had interest in art. But we had frequent meetings because she did a specific course to set up a course, and I did the same. And so we decided to meet every month. And she saw what I was working on. At that time, it was Black Queer Role Models Painting for Unity. So they were colorful in the LGBTQ
Mhm.
plus color portraits. And she started asking me, and she said, I can actually look at that and keep looking at it. Why did you use that? And how did you do that? And
Mhm.
let me talk about my art, and I will never shut up. So,
Lovely.
and she said, do you know that what you tell me about your art is actually the best marketing you can do? And she
100%.
commissioned me with a portrait of her dad, and I have to paint her mom shortly too. And so, yeah, but it also taught me that it is not just splashing the things online and then put your story
Mhm.
there. Even there,
Mhm.
you need to have the connection. You have to talk with people, and yeah,
Much more subtle than that. And I was talking to another artist yesterday, and we were saying it's about authenticity.
yeah,
You know, being yourself, being who
yeah,
you are,
yeah,
and not being afraid to share that with others. And
yeah,
that's how you make those genuine connections.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, 100%.
yeah, yeah. It's what I do. I also not follow the majority of everything everyone says. Oh, amazing, and I don't feel or think or see it's amazing. I just say that. No, I don't think it's amazing. To me, it's not amazing. Simple. They don't like that. They don't like that. And I say, yeah, but if you can say it's beautiful and I can say it's not, yeah, based on what do you say that? Well, based on my knowledge, based
Hmm.
on what I do, and I've learned to see, so I know what I'm talking about. That said, you're entitled to your opinion, so am I. But there you have a thing that if everyone is for, you have to be for too. And that is, yeah, and I'm kind of a rebel in that. I
No,
don't do that.
be yourself, and that's why artists are artists as well. Because generally, you know, visual artists are not afraid to be themselves, um, and that's something that I think is important to keep with, being who you are, what your art is. You know, that talks, your art talks about, I suppose, your ideas, your thoughts, who you are, and it's all intrinsically linked, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's important to not have to toe the line always. Obviously, you've got to be polite, and you've got to be respectful when communicating. But again, be authentic.
Yeah. Very important nowadays, especially online. Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially online. Yeah, thank you so much. Where can people find you? I know the VAA, Visual Artist Association.org. And where can people find you?
Me personally, obviously I'm on LinkedIn, or you can find me through the website. So yes, the website is the best place to go onto our social media to connect with us.
Yeah.
But
The
in the
Visual
main,
Artist Association is on Instagram. Yeah.
yes. So Instagram, join our Facebook groups as
Yeah.
well. I haven't got the the address in front of me, but if you go onto our website,
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't have to be a member to join our support community.
Yeah.
There are thousands of artists on there, and we share lots of advice, guidance, details of obviously events and open call
Yeah.
and everything else that we've got coming up.
Yeah. And that's great.
Yeah, no, it is. It's fantastic, and we have more and more planned for the future as well.
Wow.
So yeah, watch this space, and yeah, it'll be launching probably over the summer and into autumn.
Great. Thank you so much. I really
Oh
appreciated it.
yeah, thank you for having me, Karin. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.